Willie Ibar.
Tommy Two Towels Hunter.
What are you talking about?
What's the two towels part of
The
it?
two towels.
You remember Players Weekend, the pitcher? Mm-hmm. Tommy Two Towels? No one... Am I... He's real.
Are you from a different timeline?
He's real.
It's like sliders.
Tommy
Is this the Mandela effect?
Tommy Hunter. This guy. Right?
Buddy,
talking about-
you're all alone here.
Tommy
Steven
Catfish
Souza
Hunter.
Jr.
Steven Souza Jr. is a good one. I was going to go with Malix Smith.
Dang, you took mine. I was going to take
Oh my god. Guys, look up Tommy Two Towels. I swear he's real.
Smith.
How about James Loney?
How about Logan Morrison?
Can I interest you in a
Logan
Corey
Forsythe?
Dickerson?
Jose Canseco.
Jose Canseco's a Ray. That's right.
Lomo.
I already named him.
He already said Lomo.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness.
Matt Duffy played like 15
Joey
games
Wendell.
over 3 years. Joey
Mr.
Wendell.
Wendell.
Man. John Jaso.
This is a little inside joke we've been doing here as we got started because Tyler was saying he hasn't watched much Rays, so he just knows random names. From
David
the past.
DeJesus.
Brett Phillips.
Okay,
I remember
Brett
looking at
Phillips
his name when I was like 9 years old and be like, Jesus?
All right. We are going to talk Rays. We are the Dynamite Sports Podcast, but I always let the guys take victory laps on things that they predict. And on our last episode was our NCAA preview, and I'm going to take my own victory lap this time. And I don't do this. I don't brag, but I did. I did say that there would be hardly any upsets in the men's tournament, and I said I picked a bracket of like all favorites. And guess whose bracket won? Mine. Okay. Picked Florida over Duke. Sorry, I missed Duke being in the final, but I even got the winner, so I blew everybody out of the water. So I just want to say Dad was right.
I want to take a victory lap on something too. Is about the NFL. I totally forgot to take a victory lap on this.
Totally.
But I got a lot of heat for saying that the Raiders defense wouldn't be so good with Christian Wilkins. Yeah, no, they're like the third pick, right? What did Christian Wilkins do? Let's look this up.
Facebook. When I repost this again, Facebook. I want to hear answers.
Yeah, no. What did he do?
Facebook,
like,
you guys came after him.
Yeah, like come
and
on.
he was very right on this. I'll come.
You are
and
not
back
wrong.
him up.
I forgot about this.
2
Trey.
sacks.
11 solo tackles. 11. And what was the Raiders' record exactly?
Only 2 sacks.
Defense doesn't win championships.
True.
Especially this defense. I said especially this defense, people. I said this defense.
Slow down. Defense wins championships, Trey.
Trey
Slow
just
down.
might walk
bad.
out of the smoke into more smoke. He might have
Trey.
just done that.
Trey, this is a Bucks household.
$5.
The two
I will
years,
donate $5.
The 2 years the Bucks won the Super Bowl, they had the best defense in the entire league. Let's be honest here.
Chill out.
I've apologized, okay?
Now, it's not unfair
But
to say
Trey
the
was
Raiders.
correct on Christian
The
Wilkins.
Raiders defense was forgettable this season for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, but we did want to kick off with Rays because it is baseball season. Spring is in the air. The Rays are playing outside at Steinbrenner Field. We have not been. I'm not sure if we are going to go because it's so far away to go from St. Pete to Tampa. But we are watching. We are keeping up. At least Noah and I are. Tyler has admittedly not been watching, so that's why he's naming Rays of the past. But the Rays have gotten off to. They got off to kind of an encouraging start the first 2 series, but then they've kind of fallen back. They took a beating from Texas, and so. But there's some promising young players. Noah,
Who's this Coco Montez guy?
So he got called up a couple days ago, and he actually made his debut against Blake Snell, and he hit a home run in his first at bat against Blake Snell in 2023. But Montez is really in his first season right now. He has not done a lot. He came in as a third baseman to let Caminero sit a day, but he's really just an infielder. He's kind of fielding wise, he gives me a Jose Caballero. He can play anywhere on the field. Vibe, but I don't know. He's not the best of hitters.
So he's kind of like a Sam Fold
it's
or a Sean Rodriguez.
it is a name for the ages, but
Yeah, he is 28 though.
Yeah, he's a career.
He's an old rookie.
Career minor leaguer who got called up. I think a lot of Rays fans were upset that Chandler Simpson didn't get the call up when we needed a spot filled. But I think it's a little too early for Chandler Simpson because they'd be on the hook for things like arbitration and
I
stuff
think
like
I remember
that.
playing with this guy on the Durham Bulls in like the show 20.
Durham.
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 Whatever. Okay.
Old Durham.
That's a generational
actually-
thing. He's the youngest guy at the table.
Yeah, I actually do know who Chandler Simpson is because I saw it on TikTok. Yeah, he beat out a infield single to first base. That guy's
A
crazy.
routine grounder.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So what I'll say about this lineup this year is that there's three guys who should always be hitting the ball, and it's Yandy Diaz, Jonathan Aranda, and really Junior Caminero has stepped up as a hitter in the box specifically. But the guy that I really want to talk about today is Jonathan Aranda. Jonathan Aranda is leading the Rays in almost every stat category that there is when it comes to hitting percentages. He leads the Rays in average, OPS, and on-base percentage. He is hitting .378 so far. There was a point this season when I said to Trey, what if I told you that Jonathan Aranda has one single this season? He said, it'd be okay. My answer was, yeah, but he has 5 doubles.
We were playing the. It was like early.
It was the Rockies, I believe.
Yeah, we were playing the Rockies. That series, he had 5 doubles.
I mean, that's wild. And he's a first baseman. He has 6 doubles, and he leads the MLB currently with that. 14 hits, and he has a 1,157 OPS right now. This guy should be starting every single day.
And he's not on this graphic that you have up in
And that
front
is
of
why Curtis Mead is the guy that I put up.
Is he a left-handed hitter?
I don't know. But what I do know...
Oh, God.
No, I'm just kidding. He's a left-handed hitter. And Aranda is... I mean...
So we're stacking an all-righty lineup today. So we sit Aranda. We're also sitting Meisner.
Yeah. Bats left and throws right.
Yeah.
Weirdo. What's wrong with you?
I do find it interesting today that they're putting Mangum in center, as he's usually playing right field currently, but that's whatever to me.
Well, Mangum's been another pleasant surprise this year.
Mangum, I was going to say, he's been the biggest surprise as a Rays fan, in my opinion. Mangum is playing crazy.
Out of his mind.
Yeah, out of his mind. And I say that a lot. I say that term a lot, out of his mind. But Jake Mangum,
He's insane.
dude, he's playing like a crazy guy.
Why is Taylor Wall still on this team?
Because he's so good.
Because
at defending.
Ha-Sung Kim isn't back.
He's so good at defending.
He's
But he is-
such a bad hitter.
He is the worst hitter that I've...
I remember last season.
Yeah.
He is the worst hitter in the...
Yeah.
I think
in
he
the
hit like
major leagues
100
right now.
last year.
I think
He was
I do think he'll be
121
gone when
121 last
Kim
year.
comes back from his injury.
And-
When is he coming back?
Shout out to Kim. He is like
May.
He's a good glue guy. I've seen him up at the top step, clapping, giving people high fives. So, I hope he contributes with the bat soon.
The problem for the Rays this year, as it is every single year that I've personally been alive, except for 2008 when I was born, is injuries. It will always be a problem. We haven't had McClanahan all season.
We lost Josh
And we
Lowe on
lost
the first
Josh
day.
Lowe. And I'll tell you that Josh Lowe injury that we lost on the very first day is going to be a very big factor in the Rays getting to the playoffs. It's a month.
Well-
He'll be out for a month. But what I'll tell you about that is it keeps Taylor Walls in the lineup.
The problem is that he got hurt with the same injury like 3 years in a row
Yes.
to his oblique.
So what would happen if Josh Lowe goes back to right field right now? If he was in the lineup, Josh Lowe's in right today, and Jose Caballero gets to take shortstop. And that would be a major change for the Rays.
We love you, Taylor Walls, but
The Taylor Walls versus Josh Lowe hitting is wild.
put down the bat.
Is Caballero that much of a better batter than Walls is though?
But he's not changing. It's Josh Lowe that's entering the lineup if that happens.
So Josh Lowe is replacing
Caballero is very much way better in the clutch. When there's
In the
guys in
clutch.
scoring position, he can hit.
I will.
very
I
well.
mean, I don't know what his trends are. I think some of us are prone to recency bias, but Caballero did hit a grand slam earlier this week, so he's shown a little pop this year, and he's speedy on the base paths. The person that's disappointed me after having like a lava hot spring was Curtis Mead, and he's just like been non-existent for the Rays, and he's in the lineup today because he's a righty and we're going against a lefty. But you'd like to see him get on track. Danny Jansen also was like super cold start as well. It looks like he's had some. Did he hit a homer the other night?
Yeah.
I thought he hit a homer.
Yeah, finally.
He had a couple hard outs that were like showing some promise, and then he hit a homer. So I'm hoping he started to turn it around. But that's been kind of disappointing as well.
So you guys were telling me that I don't know my stuff about Jose Caballero. You're telling me I was over exaggerating, right?
Recency bias, I said yes.
448 on base percentage, batting average of 333, and he has an OPS of 1,032.
How many at bats?
12.
24. He has 24.
Yeah.
Not far out.
Yeah.
And
Small
he has,
sample size.
He's walked 5 times.
162 games.
Okay, but still, this is a good start for him as a guy who has a career batting average of 228.
I
So-
feel like he'll be batting 200 after today.
And I will say that he led stolen bases and caught stealing last year.
That is true. That is
He
true.
currently leads the MLB in caught stealing, but he'll lead in
Well,
stolen
there you
bases
go.
eventually. But
Ray's also going with an opener today in Joe Boyle.
Isn't that the guy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine?
Tyler had that one ready.
Yeah,
I've been thinking about it.
yeah.
Never heard of that guy.
So yeah, the opener versus Sale. So let's see how that goes.
Bring back the good relievers. Bring back Jake McGee.
Here we go with the
Yeah.
names again.
Bring back Fernando Rodney.
Joe Boyle is not well known because he's played 2 years with the Oakland A's. So
Oh, I could do Oakland A's too. Pat Neshek. Coco Crisp.
yeah, and he has a total of 16 games in his career.
I could do the Coco
So-
Crisp batting stance right now.
Oh my
I think I could do the Pat Neshek sidearm too, but I
If
would
we
need
go
like
to commercial, I
I
will
need 2
take
days of
this.
rest.
If we need to go to commercial, I will take this outside and you will do that Coco Crisp.
Tyler,
Dude.
Tyler's batting stance guy
Oh yeah,
impersonations.
I was really good at that. Coco Crisp, Big Poppy, Evan Longoria.
Euclid had a unique one too.
Maybe we'll do a
Yep,
TikTok.
Euclid.
Maybe we'll do a TikTok and we just do a bunch of batting stances
Back when
again.
bring back baseball being cool.
I know, it's true.
It's so lame now.
Well, I mean, really, like all the guys are like so vanilla to me in many ways. A lot of the big stars, and then you've got the few guys like a Rosarena and stuff who show some verve and,
And then
some
they get
excitement,
thrown at.
and then they get thrown at. That at bat from Randy Rosarena is always gonna be one of my favorites. I don't care who he plays for. He was a Ray.
Chicken
he
and
gave
rice,
us
baby.
some huge moments as a Ray. Yeah, he got that line. I'm gonna eat my arroz con pollo and do my push-ups.
Yeah.
But that at bat he had where 3 pitches in a row he stepped out while the pitcher was winding up, took 3 balls, and then hit a homer on the 4th pitch.
Yeah.
Like classic
see that. I did see
Rosarena.
that.
And then he got pegged the next time around. You're right. So like that's the fun stuff, and like I feel like everybody like is so like vanilla in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
Come on.
There's one
What's
batting
it?
stance right now that I want to point out because I've watched 2 years now of Curtis Mead, and I've never seen him use this batting stance where it looks like he's looking at the pitcher the whole time,
Curtis
like facing with his hips at the pitcher. Like what?
I don't know. Something about his face just reminds me of like Dan Johnson.
You know who else had a really weird bat stance? Harold
The pumpkin.
Ramirez.
Great pumpkin.
He was his entire body turned. I have to move my mic for this. He had his entire body turned. And he was like this. It was so weird. It was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen.
So
don't remember that.
All right. So we'll take this outside later. We'll do some TikToks
Yeah,
and
yeah,
have Tyler
Absolutely.
do some.
We could do quarterback impressions too.
Well, let's save that for the NFL season. All right. So in transition,
Speaking of quarterbacks,
speaking of quarterbacks, yes. Go
Not
ahead,
speaking
Trey.
of quarterbacks.
I have a rant I'd like to go on, and it's about quarterbacks being overpaid, incredibly overpaid. Who would you guys say is the best quarterback in the league right now?
I think consensus is Mahomes probably.
I would say Josh Allen.
I mean, Mahomes had a down year last year, but it's probably one of those two. And so you said Patrick Mahomes. The 3 players that are paid more than him.
Hang on, can I guess him?
Okay, go ahead.
I know Kirk
Sorry.
Cousins is going to be up there.
Who's a backup right now?
Yeah, I'm going to say Matt Stafford. I'm pretty sure that
Nope.
contract's
Well,
huge.
the 3 right above him. He's the most highest paid player in history, but not the biggest contract.
Interesting.
Okay.
Dak.
Dak is 1. He's the highest paid paid
Yeah.
player right now.
Good call.
Derek Carr. Remember that contract being massive.
No.
Something like 150
The 3
million
above him is Kirk Cousin, Deshaun Watson, and Kyler Murray.
That's brutal.
And he is not even in the top 10.
Who?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Well, he structured his contract weird so that it's spread out over like 10 years, but he's going to get paid like $1 billion.
He did like the Shohei contract, like
and
pushes it all back.
He owns part of the Kansas City Royals. You know, it is what it is.
Well, still, my point still stands. Even, like, okay, you know who's the second highest paid player in NFL history tied? Trevor Lawrence.
Whoa,
Second highest contract in NFL history.
that's a good one.
Yeah,
horrible.
That's a good
well,
one.
and also like from a roster building standpoint, the teams that have success are ones that can get a young quarterback before that big contract hits, and you have space on your roster to add pass rush, corners. You know, like I mean, the Seahawks, the Legion of Boom Seahawks with Russell Wilson, they caught him lightning in a bottle in his early first contract, and they were able to build a bunch of parts. And then when it came contract time, you know, they let him go, and it all fell apart.
And you look at teams with successful quarterbacks that weren't able to build around them, even with the rookie contract. You look at the Andrew Luck Colts. They never had a team around him ever.
Right. Well, and like Brady was like comparably was not paid very much over his contract because he kept giving up and restructuring to allow players to be re-signed. He understood the importance of having parts around him.
You know who's this is my rant, by the way, guys.
I'm sorry. We agree.
Apologies.
Right above Trevor Lawrence is Jordan Love, who is only good during Toyotathon. Right below Trevor Lawrence is Tua Tagovailoa.
Wow.
And below Tua Tagovailoa is Jared Goff, who is pretty good.
MVP candidate.
Yeah. Dak Prescott got his new contract September 8th, 2024. He had this season, even though he was hurt, 1,978 yards. Even when he wasn't, he had 6.9 average yards per attempt. He had a completion percentage of only 64 is pretty good. He had, what?
No, he went 70 in the NFL.
Yeah.
11 touchdowns.
Didn't Geno have like 80 one year? Sorry. Don't need to get sidetracked.
No, it's okay. And, that's just, he's the highest paid player. Yep. He should not be. After that season.
The problem with quarterbacks is that it's the most valuable position on the entire field.
Not everybody needs to reset the market.
That's the problem, though, Trey. The highest paid quarterback is the next one. So who gets paid next? He's going to be the highest paid.
Well,
Brock Purdy is getting paid now.
Yeah, well, I mean, at some point, the Eagles are going to have to pay Jalen Hurts, too. And that's a team that has been able to build around a rookie contract quarterback and build a lot of parts around them. Yep. And actually, you're seeing it right now. They're kind of having to dismantle a lot of the team and let guys go.
Same thing with the Chargers. Yeah. Justin Herbert is getting...
he's going to get a lot of money.
200 million for however many years.
Probably 4 or 5.
Yep.
52 million a year.
Tyler, you said that quarterback is the most valuable position on the field, right?
Absolutely.
In total, so in the total pay of an offensive line, in my opinion, it should be close to what a quarterback gets paid. Because without an offensive line, you can't run the ball. You can't throw the ball. You can't get the ball down the field at all.
You can't even snap the ball.
That's where the caveat is in the idea that quarterback is the most important single position.
Sure.
Offensive line and defensive line are probably the two most important position groups.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Because a left guard isn't going to change the way your offense works as a system, but a quarterback is.
What my point is a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who had the best offensive line, they won. When the Bucks had
they also had
a very good offensive line, they won.
When the Chiefs had a stupid good offensive line.
But I'm going to ask this. How many times have you seen a team with an elite offensive line and a really bad quarterback? You don't see it.
True.
Yeah.
You never see that.
That might be correlation. I might have causation without correlation, but it's a theory. You know what I mean? Like
I
like the way you did that, Noah. Good job.
Yeah.
I just don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know that you ever see a good offensive line with a bad quarterback.
You know who's paid higher than Baker Mayfield?
I'll go right ahead with that, Tyler. I'm sorry, Trey. I'll cut out from you. But Mekhi Becton and that Jets O-line, they've all left, and they were pretty good.
So, Baker Mayfield was the third highest in passing yards last year. Let's see. Derek Carr is being paid more than him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold is being paid more than him.
Well, Sam Darnold was really good last year.
Sam Darnold was lucky.
Yeah, he was.
Sam Darnold got real
Statistically,
lucky.
on the stat sheet, he's good.
Great stats. When you look at it, you're like,
Very lucky.
Yeah.
a lot of 50-50 balls.
That tape tells a different story.
Justin Jefferson made him look really good.
So the problem, though, with what you just said about the Jets having good offensive linemen and not being successful because they had Zach Wilson is that proves my point, is that you can't have a good team if you have a good offensive line and no quarterback.
It's also a point about the Jets that no matter who they have, they just suck.
It's true.
That
It's
is
just-
true.
Oh,
No
man.
doubt.
Careful what you say about Woody Johnson, though.
I'm not careful what I say about Woody Johnson. He follows his son's Madden theories.
Easy there, pal. You're talking to a healthcare CEO. You gotta be careful.
All right, so coming off of quarterbacks, Noah, you also had a little sidebar you wanted to get into.
Oh, yeah. I have a baseball trivia before we hit our football draft.
Back to
week.
baseball.
So,
Hot dog it. Are we gonna talk about
can
Danny
you guys
Hechavarria
name...
as Drupal Cabrera?
Dude. You know, before Danny became a Ray, like 2 days before, I got a Danny Hechavarria card. But that's not my point.
What
right
about James
now.
Loney?
So my point right now is I want to Trey. That's like 10 more.
Actually, kind of funny to watch on the screen because you guys are all like these separate Brady Bunch pictures, and then see Trey sneeze off screen from his box and Tyler slide off screen in his
Okay.
box.
Can you guys name the 3 oldest batters on the Rays lineup right now
Right now?
in the MLB? Yes.
Coco Montez.
No.
Oh.
Dang! All right, that was gonna be a good guess.
Wait,
3
what's
oldest
the
batters
question?
for the Rays.
On the current roster.
On the current MLB roster for the Tampa Bay Rays, 3 oldest batters.
See how many Rays I can name right now.
Yandy Diaz.
Current
Yandy
Rays.
Diaz is
That would've
number
been-
1.
that would've been my
at
first guess.
33 years old.
Brandon Lau.
30.
Brandon Lau is 31 and he is second. Now you have number 3.
Brandon Lau is the longest tenured Ray.
Number 3 is the point that I want to make.
Danny Jansen.
Nope.
Ooh, that would have been a good one.
He's 28. There's a lot of guys who are 28.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this team's gonna get old fast.
Yeah, 28 is kind of the age in the MLB. Like,
Yeah.
the NBA is like 24. NFL is like 27, probably 26. 28 is the number in MLB.
MLB.
I'll say I'm not going to give you guys hints because that'll make it way too easy.
Who?
Exactly.
I'm trying to make it filler for the people who are listening.
I can't even
but
think about players that are on this team.
Well, yes,
Taylor
we've
Walls?
established that.
It's not Taylor Walls.
Taylor
is it?
Walls. He's
yeah,
20,
he's young. Yeah.
He's 28.
Oh, well,
Caballero.
Caballero. No.
that would have been a good guess. I would like.
Caminero?
I can only
He's
think
24.
about like. Yeah,
He's the youngest.
He's young. Yeah.
I can only think about like Jose Siri, Hassan Kim, maybe.
Nope.
Who's our backup catcher?
He's not active. That's why he doesn't count.
I don't know who the backup catcher
Who is
is.
our catcher?
Backup catcher is Ben Rodvit.
Oh, no, he's not.
No,
Yeah,
he's
he
not.
sucks.
He's young. Yes, and he sucks.
He's like not played at all this
What,
year.
if,
I
what if
know.
I just name like former Rays?
Well,
that can
Jansen's such a
just-
good hitter that doesn't even
Christian
matter.
Bethencourt.
No,
Bethencourt.
he's
Wow.
not played for us anymore.
Wow, that was a good one.
All right, I'm out. I'm tapping out.
Desmond Jennings.
I think Tyler's tapped out
Tyler's
as well.
out. Trey.
Mike Zanino.
Okay, he's out too.
Okay. It's an outfielder, guys.
Oh, it's an outfielder.
Outfielder, Matt
Today,
Joyce.
he is starting at center field.
Mangum.
It's Jake Mangum. He is 29.
Mangum PI.
Yes, Mangum PI.
Wow.
And then my point is, sure, it looks like they're not experienced, but Mangum is the 3rd most experienced batter in the starting lineup.
Well, no, he,
MLB experience.
I
though?
wouldn't say experience. I'd say he's oldest. I mean, he's got at bats in the minor league level, but as far as at the major league level, they're like, I mean, Caballero has more at bats. Caminero has more at bats at 24.
Joseph Mann.
So, all right, interesting.
But the thing
Good
is,
point.
he's a role player, and he waited long enough in the minors that he came in and he's put on a show for us. He might not be the next, I don't know, Mookie Betts, but he can be a great outfielder.
I would
for
have
the
gone with
Rays.
Johnny Gomes.
Well, the thing with baseball is it is a long season, and when you've got to look at a guy's career numbers, and when they're like playing lights out, you've got to realize that eventually they're probably going to regress toward what their career numbers are, regressing toward the mean, Mr. Statistics class. All right. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great to get excited about these guys that are new to us. Meisner, Mangum,
And the thing
Caminero,
is,
but
the sample size right now is versus the Atlanta Braves, who are bad and we lost to them, against the Angels,
true.
who are playing really good but they're bad and we lost to them, and then it's
the Rangers who
against
smoked us.
Mike
the
Trout's
Rangers,
still in the league.
who are
Yeah.
very good, and then
Incredible.
it's against the two worst teams in the league. That's my point. It's the Colorado Rockies, who are the worst pitching team in the league, and the Pirates, who are the worst hitting team in the league.
Actually,
So
Orioles are the worst pitching team in the league.
no, statistically, it is the
They
Colorado
have
Rockies.
5.40 ERA collectively.
Trades. The Colorado Rockies were last in nearly every pitching statistic.
Trey brought
in hits
receipts.
allowed, in home runs allowed.
They have the
in
lowest
walks
strikeout
allowed.
percentage right
Okay,
now.
not into the microphone like that, buddy.
You just
Okay,
peaked
all right.
it.
Yeah, no, I don't know who any of these players are,
Exactly.
but I'm shocked to find out that Mike Trout is only 33. That's shocking.
What?
That's shocking.
Oh, that's because he started
I
playing.
feel like this dude's been playing my whole life.
Started playing like when he was
Harper is
18.
only like,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, Bryce Harper's the same age. 34
And we-
probably.
Ooh, I have
You've
another
known them
rant.
your whole
I have
life.
another rant for next week. Players Weekend, bring it back. Like all the nicknames on the back. Of it.
Yeah, I know you. You led with that. I know.
Yeah.
But Tommy Hunter, what was his?
Tommy Two Towels.
Never heard of that guy.
And
I
I
remember
thought you were
Tommy
talking
Hunter.
about Tommy Catfish Hunter, who was a pitcher for
no,
the A's.
Tommy Hunter was better known as the closer for the Braves, I think, at one point, but we ended up getting him afterwards and
What about Brad
did raise things with
Boxberger?
him. Oh God,
I think he was an
Tyler,
all-star
have
one
you
year.
been playing 2K13?
he
I
was
definitely have.
he was a lights out eighth inning guy.
He really was. He was
Yeah.
a good setup guy.
Yeah, he was.
All right, we're about 26 minutes in. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back. This is the Dynamite Sports Podcast on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back.
Sweet. I didn't even really pull out any heavy hitters in terms of names. either.
Draft.
So we've got 30 seconds. But yeah.
All right, well, this won't be as long if we go.
Is that Wade Boggs?
Yes, he's got great moments.
And
from
it's game
Team Base
163, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got a Devin White highlight in there.
Uh, yeah, let's shut down the vet, too.
Welcome back on. This is the Dynamite Sports Podcast. Now we have draft preview.
It's like a huge holiday in our household, the NFL draft. It's the merger of two of the things we love, college football and NFL, come together. Great stories, human interest.
This is the best time of year outside of the Super Bowl.
It really is. It really is. So Tyler and Noah have been up on doing the research more so than at least myself. Trey, I'm not sure where you are.
I
Checked
don't know.
out,
I
man.
read.
I know.
I read a few Mel Kiper things. And like, what is he talking about?
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna let Tyler
doesn't
and
know
Noah
anything.
take the lead. Trey and I'll insert where we have some limited knowledge, but we've been really trying to talk about positions that the Bucks are interested in. I know we talked heavily about safeties in one of our last episodes. Noah's also Noah named Jihad Campbell as his sleeper, which he'll probably be the first inside linebacker taken. So
First
not
or
really,
second, for sure.
not really a sleeper, but I will say my limited draft information I've gotten is that the Bucks would be definitely interested in Campbell at the right place because we're looking eventually for a long-term replacement for Levante David, but they are very high on Sebastian Dennis coming back. They're also pretty high on the free agent linebacker, and I don't have his name at the tip of my tongue, but he came
Anthony
from the
Walker.
Dolphins. They're rather high on him as his ability at least to be a contributor. So it might not be like the on-fire need that we think it is because we see Levante David leaving soon.
Yeah, I think that first round pick is going to be the best defender off the board. Whether that's, building depth at safety, whether it's taking a corner, which we know that the front office knows that they need a corner. Top Bowles has made comments with the media about Jamel Dean needing to prove he can play a season. I don't think he's had an interception in like the last 4 years. And Zion McCollum has looked promising, but I'm tired of seeing him get burnt downfield. And
Tyreek
so
Thunderberg looks promising.
No.
as a
Oh my
special
gosh,
teamer,
Trey.
Yeah, no.
they brought in another special teamer guy to replace Tavier Thomas as well, but those are not guys that should be seeing the field on defense.
No.
So I would say corner, inside linebacker, and edge rusher
Sure.
are still the biggest three.
And really,
needs.
I mean, to me, corner and edge rusher kind of go hand in hand. If you got edge rush,
agree.
your corner doesn't have to cover as long. If you got a good corner, then you
Your
got
edge rusher
more
has more
time for your edge
time.
rush to get more
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah, it's complementary.
Yeah, they are complementary, but those are two things I think we definitely need depth, and we need we need to have impact with to
Yeah.
keep the defense growing.
I personally will always lean towards drafting an edge rusher. I think going back to positional value in the NFL, I say quarterback is the most valuable position on the field. Edge rusher is probably second.
Yeah,
having a good edge rusher sets the tone on the defense.
And we really don't.
And-
We've been throwing resources at edge.
And it just hasn't worked
I think
out.
we've got great push up the middle with Cansey and Vea.
Cansey and Vea is a great
I think
interior lineman duo.
if you can get a really good edge rusher, they're going to come here and be like, "Wow, I've got room to run because these guys clog up the middle so much."
And they still have Chris Braswell, who was a second round pick just a year ago. So I don't think that they're going to be looking to spend that first round pick on an edge rusher.
And Hassan Reddick, of course.
And they
is
brought
gonna
in
be-
Hassan Reddick. So I think
Very rare thing for Tampa sports to do is bring in the
Yeah.
veteran.
Well, yeah, and I think corner is probably the number one need, especially after bringing in Reddick. I would like to see them get another rotational guy in the draft at edge rusher for sure. So probably a second or a third round pick, somebody who could play this season. And they definitely need an inside linebacker. So the first three picks the first pick's probably going to be corner. Second two picks needs to be an outside linebacker and an inside linebacker in whatever order they need to be in.
Right.
Bowles has also made comments about potentially drafting an offensive player in the first round. Not a fan of that. Not a fan at all.
I'm not, and but I do think that there might be some thought that hey, Mike Evans is probably near the end too. We've had injury problems with Godwin.
Mike Evans' contract is up after this year again. So I understand those concerns. But I think the offense is in a really, really good spot right now. I think the only position worth even thinking about upgrading early in the draft would be tight end. And even then, K. Dotton, he's still got another year under contract after this season.
He's not that bad.
And he's shown some great signs of improvement.
Yeah.
There's a fallacy in one of your statements that you made, Tyler, and it is the sunk cost fallacy. It's a decision-making bias that has been shown in many experimental and laboratory field settings. Pretty much, this is from my paper. So pretty much, you do something once and it works, and then you go back and do it a ton of more times, and it fails every time.
So what is the fallacy?
The fallacy is the Bucks drafting edge rushers, because the last couple of years it sucked. We got one relatively good one, and then we get a ton of bad ones. We get Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, we get Yaya Diaby, and it's just becoming a problem.
Yaya Diaby.
Whoa, are you saying
Wow.
that Yaya Diaby might be disappointing?
Diaby led the team in sacks last season, didn't he?
And Noah was like Diaby's biggest fan.
Yeah.
I am.
He's,
For real.
But what I'm going to say is they're not everything that we've wanted them to be. They're not the starter that we've wanted them to be these whole years.
Especially Joe Tryon.
I do love Diaby, and statistically he's great, but it doesn't show on the field like he needs to be showing.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. The Bucks were top 10 in pressure rate and in sacks this season.
Sure.
The pass rush wasn't as bad as I make it out to be, obviously.
Yeah. But
The problem is that didn't mean anything.
But
Like,
we blitz more than any team.
those are empty numbers, is what I'm saying.
And that exposes our defensive backfield. So again, we're back into the whole complementary thing.
Exactly. And I don't think that's sunk cost fallacy. I think sunk cost fallacy is drafting a bust in the first round and then holding on to him through his whole contract, like we did with Joe Tryon. That's sunk cost fallacy. The idea that you've spent all these resources on this player, so you might as well keep him. No, cut your dead weight. He was not a good edge rusher. He was great in coverage. He was great as a coverage outside linebacker. That's not the position he was playing.
No, correct. So, that being said, talk to us about some corners, Tyler.
So I actually just published my corner preview through RBLR Sports this past weekend.
Like and follow them as well.
Yeah. Like and follow them as well. I'm sure my producers over there would be happy to hear me say that on this show. This is a weird draft class overall. It is very, very deep in some positions, and in the high-profile positions like quarterback, there's not a lot of depth to be found. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of recognizable names in the quarterback class. I don't think
This kind of reminds me
outside of Cam Ward, I'm not.
Draft class.
Yeah, outside of Cam Ward, I'm not super excited.
Outside of like Kenny Pickett, no one was really excited.
Shadur Sanders was really, really impressive in college. I thought his pro day and his combine were really disappointing. I think part of that might play into the fact that he doesn't want to play for the Browns. So I'm curious to see if he was just kind of tanking his own skill set to fall past that, because that's kind of the rumor that's been floating around. Anyways, I'm not here to talk about quarterbacks. I'm here to talk about corners. Travis Hunter is the de facto number one corner in this draft class. I think that that's his better position. I don't think he was a really good wide receiver in college. Don't get me wrong. He's a much better corner. I think that he will ultimately play corner at the next level and play some snaps at wide receiver. So I don't see him falling to 19 in any world, any universe, outside of some weird Teron Armstead post on Twitter that makes him fall 2 entire rounds. So the kind of the question is, who's number 2? I think that it's probably Jahdae Barron from Texas. When you think about corners, you want a lot of versatility in this defense, and you want guys that are fast and physical. For those of you who are not familiar, RAS is a measurement of a player's athletic skill set relative to other players in the position. Vernon Hargraves was a Jason Light draft pick, 9.26 out of 10. Sean Murphy-Bunting, 9.64. Jamel Dean, 9.93. Zion McCollum scored a perfect 10. So this is probably a pretty good indicator of high value corners under Jason Light. So Barron, he was very productive. He scored an 8.82, so not nearly at that level, but he's a little bit small. He's only 5'10" only, and he only weighs 194. But he's very versatile. He played a lot of cover 3, played a lot of nickel, played a lot of outside. He played all over the place in Texas, and he was really, really, really good. I think if he falls to 19, it's a no-brainer. And the thing about this draft class, nobody knows what's going to happen. This is one of those drafts where, we think Cam Ward is going to go 1, but it could be Travis Hunter, or it could be Abdul Carter. And after that, we have no idea, because we don't know what's going to happen in the top 3, much less the top 10. So I think there's a chance Jahdae Barron falls that far. I don't think it's likely, but if he does, he has to be the pick. Next up is Will Johnson. He's not going to participate in the Michigan Pro Day due to a hamstring injury, and he missed most of the season with turf toe. So the injuries are a little bit concerning. You don't want to see turf toe ever with a position like that.
That was chronic, yeah.
Yeah, especially with guys like Michael Thomas for the Saints. It kind of ended his career.
Right.
Deion Sanders is missing toes on his feet from having turf toe in his career and playing through it.
That was a firework accident.
No. You're thinking of Jason Pierre-Paul. Yeah.
And that's fingers.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, turf toe is like a tendon issue with your toes. So when you're running and you're running on your toes a lot, sometimes you can strain that tendon.
Yeah,
and
especially when you're cutting and changing
become,
directions.
Right, it can become a chronic injury. Mm-hmm. So that's a little bit concerning. He was absolutely elite at Michigan, especially in that national championship year. We didn't hardly see him in 2024, 2023, and 2022. He was widely considered to be the top corner in all of college football. But it was him and Ben Morrison from Notre Dame and Travis Hunter. So I'm curious to see how far he falls. I think at 19 he would be a pretty good pick there. Just a little bit concerned. Next I have Trey Amos from.
Hey, he is a nice name.
Yeah, pretty cool name. From Ole Miss, 6 foot, 195, 4.43 40-yard dash, 8.87 RAS.
How tall was he?
6'0". 6 foot and 6/8, I guess technically. So he's kind of in a weird spot on draft boards. He kind of lies right at the turn for the round, so he's probably like PFF has him as the 33rd best player in the draft. So he's kind of too low for them to take at 19 to justify that if you go by that draft board, and he's not going to fall to the second round for them. So I don't think it's a likely pick. He was very limited in his production, not a lot of interceptions, only 4 in his 5-year collegiate career. And he's very handsy, but he's very fast. 4.43 40 time. He's a competitor. He's got a nose for contact. But it's just he's not going to be a buck. I don't think
the nose for contact is something that I like.
Yeah.
It worries me a little bit because he's a corner. But outside of that, that's a good trait to have.
Did you guys see what you said handsy? I remember. Did you guys see what Bill Belichick was doing for holding for like corners who held? He put like the boxing gloves on them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yes.
Go on.
Oh yeah, Belichick's a smart guy, man. Next is Maxwell Hairston, 5'11 and 2/8, 183 pounds. So he's gonna have to pack on some weight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he's gonna get thrown around. But his 40-yard dash was a 4.28.
Wow.
Yeah. So lightning quick, almost a 40-inch vertical at a football weight. So his athleticism jumps off the screen. He's got a 9.63.
So that sounds like a Bucks player.
He sounds like a Buck, but he missed half the season with a shoulder injury.
Okay.
And he graded out pretty poorly on PFF, if you want to trust PFF. And his counting stats were really good. But on tape, I don't see much anticipation. I see him in the right place at the right time. He's a good tackler at his size. He's very physical, even at 183. But he has a tendency to get handsy. And being 183 and 5'11" is going to make it a lot harder to match up against the team's number one. Like a DK Metcalf is going to throw him
Amon
out
Ra,
of the stadium. Yeah, exactly.
He's on the sideline.
It would be ugly in camp to watch him guard Mike Evans. He's also in a weird spot. I don't think he falls to the second round pick for the Bucks, and I'm not a huge fan. Honestly, he's really flashy.
I think we already have Tyke Smith, and to fit that slot corner spot.
Tyke's not going to play slot. He's going to play safety. That's the thing. So it's going to be Tyke and Antoine Winfield as your safety.
This is going to be such a better defense player, Antoine.
And you're thinking about drafting a third safety to rotate in because there's not really one on the roster.
Yeah.
Christian Isian is he's kind of your nickel right now.
He kind of just played everywhere.
Yeah,
like, to be honest,
he's very versatile.
Yeah.
He's probably your nickel right now. Next up is I think probably my second favorite prospect here. He's probably going to be a second rounder. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in the third game of the season. His name is Siobhan Revelle from Eastern Carolina University. So he played in the American Conference. He was only a full-time starter starting halfway through last season, like 2023. So he doesn't even have a full season of reps under his belt as a top corner on, a mid-major team. So I think he's gonna fall, but he looks really good. 6'1" and 7/8, 194, big, physical, freak of nature. I think he probably would have been the top RAS scorer here, because he's huge, and he looks really fast. He was a track star in high school. He was a track star in college too. He is going to be an athletic freak. His run defense is a little shaky, but it's not for lack of effort. And he brings a low completion rate. In his 3 games this season, he allowed a completion rate of 38.1%. Quarterbacks that threw his way threw a complete pass on 38% of their attempts. Now, granted, 3 games, small sample size. Wow. He didn't produce very many turnovers, unfortunately, but, that certainly hasn't held the Bucs back in the past. I've got him graded as a B-. I had grades for all these guys. I don't really want to go back through.
Where's
think
Kobe Bryant on this list?
This was just like top 3 round guys.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Kobe Bryant's like 4th or 5th.
Yeah. Next, I have Darian Porter, who is my favorite healthy prospect here. 6'2" and 7/8.
Jesus.
195, 40-yard dash, 4.3.
Oh, this is the guy.
Vertical,
That is-
36.5. Broad jump, 10 foot, 11 inches.
This is God.
RAS, 999.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's the guy.
I literally wrote in the article, take everything I said about Revelle and turn up the intensity by a factor of 10. It's rare to see a defensive back that tall because they usually end up being wide receivers. Ironically, he was originally recruited as a wide receiver at Iowa State. The former track star is in the 95th percentile for height and arm length. He's not very polished, but he was a pretty good special teamer. I think he could find a roster spot. I think he's still going to be a second round pick just because he's a freak of nature. And he's pretty good. He came on as a pretty big star for them on defense this season, despite just having special teams experience and really never playing corner. And I think that with some development, he could be really, really good at the NFL level.
My God. He looks like a linebacker.
I think he has a good chance at switching to safety. So that's another interesting part of that.
Size, yeah.
But yeah, I think if he's there, every PFF mock draft I do, he's right there at the top of the board in the second round for the Bucks. He's got to be the pick if he's there.
Yeah.
Him and Ravel, those are the second round picks. If they don't go corner in the first round, that's your pivot.
Gotcha.
Next is Azarie Thomas from Florida State. Not physically super impressive. He scored an 8.11 on his RAS. 6'1", 4'8", 197. Pretty big. He's just kind of, average for an NFL athlete. But his tape is very, very impressive. I would say his football IQ is just completely off the charts. He's always in the right place at the right time, and that's not by chance. He's a really good run defender, and I'm curious to see how they use him in blitz packages because I'm pretty sure he's like the all-time sack leader for Florida State corners.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yes.
Interesting. Well,
I'm very curious about him playing nickel next season for the Bucks.
That's what we like in our slot.
Yep. And so, I think that could definitely be interesting, especially at 197. He's a really good run defender, and that's also very important. Next is Benjamin Morrison, who didn't test anything at pro day except for his bench press, and he missed a significant section of the season for the national championship season, unfortunately. But as a true freshman in his 9 games as a true freshman, he had 6 interceptions, which is the most by a Notre Dame player since Manti
That's a lot
Te'o's
in college.
Heisman finalist season.
Wow. Teo with 6 interceptions. I didn't realize
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
He played 11 games in 2023. He forced an incompletion rate of 20%. No, he forced an incompletion on 20% of his targets over the last 2 seasons. Only allowed a completion rate of 44%. That makes more sense. He's great, but the injuries are very concerning. This season, it was a torn labrum in his hip. As important as lower body injuries are for an NFL prospect, super concerning, especially for a hip injury. We've seen, many an athletic superstar go down with hip injuries early in a career. He's been medically cleared. He's going to do a private workout this week, actually. And I think he was probably a top 10 prospect before that injury. So I'm curious to see how far he falls. I've seen some mock drafts where he falls to the 3rd round now. So, take that with a grain of salt. Every NFL every NFL reporter is going to have their opinions of players. But, I don't know if he's a great scheme fit. He played a lot of man coverage in college, not great in zone. But if he's there, I'm curious.
So you mentioned position depth and the unevenness of position depth. Quarterback being a position that does not have hardly any depth.
Yeah.
Corners, how does that compare to other positions in this draft?
I'm fairly impressed by even some of the guys in the 6th and 7th rounds. I don't think it's the deepest. I think edge rusher and an inside linebacker. Ironically, inside linebacker, even though it doesn't have a ton at the top, there's a lot of guys in the middle.
Right.
So I think.
Well, it
corner
doesn't sound like
is-
corner. There's a lot at the top either. Your first guy is
There's
Hunter in
there's
the top 5, and then you got like guys that are at the bottom of the first round.
and then it kind of shifts around. There's maybe 3 or 4 guys I could see going in the first round, and then there's 5 or 6 guys I could see in the second round. There's a lot of solid guys with solid playing time in college. There are guys there's a guy who's like 26 coming out of University of Texas San Antonio. He spent like 8 years in college, so I'm curious about him as well, just as a depth piece late in the draft. But I could very well see the Bucs taking 2 corners and both of them playing, significant snaps, whether it's on defense or special teams this season.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Is that all for your corners?
That's all for my corners.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So I'll get my part out of the way. So I have one player today. I'm just going to talk about one. This is my undraftable. This guy I do not want to see on any draft boards for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is Trey Harris from Ole Miss. If you remember
Another
last year,
cool name.
my undraftable player was Alabama tackle, who allowed 5 sacks versus Daquan Evans. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All of you at the table,
Yeah,
of course.
We watched that live. Yes.
Yeah. So
Except for Tyler.
this year, I'm talking about Trey Harris. Trey Harris had a 9.23 out of 10 on RAS. He ranked 293 out of 3,797 receivers. Yes, his combine does definitely deserve the score. But when looking at his college statistics, let's talk about this. Does he deserve a 9.23 RAS score? In my opinion, he doesn't.
So why do you say he doesn't deserve the RAS score?
I'm getting there. His pros are that he had a 95.0 PFF grade in his best game versus what?
I would like to say that a RAS score is objective and a measurement.
Yeah.
It's strictly athleticism.
It's not just some guy looking at his table going, that guy gets a 10. It's a perfect prospect.
I got it. Yeah.
Just
So he
making sure.
deserves. I think he deserves the RAS score. I
He
think I know
deserves
where you're
the
going.
RAS
with
I think
this.
I think
But
I
he-
got
does
where
he-
you're going.
Yeah. Okay. He got a 95 PFF grade versus man coverage this year. He scored in 7 out of the 8 games that he played. He can definitely stretch the field.
He scored.
He scored, as in he's a receiver.
What position? Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay.
I thought we were talking about corners.
And
Same.
he's very much an above average height for being a deep threat. Here's his problem: doesn't have a route tree. He runs go balls and posts. That's all he runs. He has very large ups and downs. His last game was against the hardest team that he played in the entire season. That was the Florida Gators. He had a 60.1 PFF grade. His best game came against Furman in the first game of the season, and he had a 92.8. My conclusion is that he looks like a wide receiver 1, but in the NFL, he'll only be a 3 or a 4, maybe in a system. Pretty much what he did this year is played against all the bad teams that Ole Miss played against, and he did good because he played against bad teams. He didn't play against the good ones. The best team that I stated that he played against was Florida. He did not have a great season. Don't draft this guy. Jason Light, please don't draft this guy. I mean, he's definitely not getting drafted. If we draft a receiver, it's McMillan in the first round. But yeah, that's my guy. Tyler,
So-
you're looking something up avidly, and I'm very scared.
yeah, I was looking at a pronunciation guide for my next segment. Sorry.
Okay. Okay.
All right. So Tyler, we mentioned corners being a need. We mentioned the complementary nature of the corner position. So the other complement is the pass rush. So
Yeah.
edge rushers.
I don't necessarily see them spending a first round pick this season. It's not. I thought going into the offseason it was their biggest need. I think they've sufficiently addressed it with Hassan Reddick, at least outside of drafting a first round pick. I think that it would be nice to have a 4th outside linebacker to fill the role that they're now missing with what's his face?
Don't say Tryon.
No, not Tryon. Definitely not Tryon.
Well, I
So
mean,
they-
yeah, look at the depth chart. You've got
Yeah.
Reddick probably at the top. You got Diaby on the other side,
And then it's-
you got
Nelson and Braswell.
I was
Yeah.
thinking of Anthony Nelson.
Yeah.
I think that Anthony Nelson is a fun piece to have. I don't know how reliable he is. I could see them drafting more of a defensive end type that's not going to drop off the line and play in coverage to play on the other side of Vea, because currently I think it's one of those kind of rotational guys where he's the William Golstons of the world, if you will.
Okay.
So I could see them drafting more of a defensive end than an outside linebacker.
So you're looking to replace William Golston.
It's not even William Golston that's getting those snaps, though. It's Greg Gaines.
Okay.
I
And he did
not
get
a huge-
resigned, so.
not a huge fan. I think he's okay if you're
Yeah.
rotating him in as a starter. No, thank you. So we'll start this class from the top down again. You have Abdul Carter, consensus top 3 pick. You could justify going with him at number 1 if you really wanted to. If you were Tennessee, there's possibilities that people trade up to get him at number 1. There's concerns about foot injuries, broken foot or broken bone on the inside of his foot. He'll be fine. He's 6'3", 252, and the stats say it all. He finished with 13 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, 43 hurries. 43 hurries. He even batted a ball down at the line this season. This was the most defensive snaps he played in his college career as well. 2023, he only had 4 sacks. So he had 9 sacks this season. If I had to compare him to somebody, it's Micah Parsons. Ironic because they wore the same jersey in college. And he started off the season pretty rough against West Virginia, but boy howdy, could he have won a Heisman in a different year. Just absolutely ridiculous. He's got kind of a slow first step. Doesn't really matter. His arms are so long, his legs are so long, it doesn't really matter. I think that if you're looking for holes in his game, you're nitpicking. Not a possibility for the Bucs.
Yeah.
The next one is also not really a possibility for the Bucs. It's Mike Green from Marshall, Thundering Herd.
Yeah.
I think if his name wasn't Mike Green and if he didn't wear a Marshall jersey, he would probably be a top 5 pick. He is ridiculously good. He's only 21 years old still. 6'4", 248. He was graded above 90 in 2023 and 2024 in his only 2 years as a starter. He's only a redshirt sophomore this past season.
Wow.
Just absolutely absurd. 17 sacks this season.
Oh my gosh. So you're just talking about Jason Pierre-Paul. This is what this sounds like to me. Jason Pierre-Paul went to the USF and just played fantastic.
Played fantastic. Didn't really get a lot of draft notoriety. Listen, man. A guy named Mike Green. There's only so much ceiling you can get with that name. He's got to change it. If his name was
Mikey,
like,
maybe?
not even Mikey. If he went by La Michael, maybe. I think that he has probably the highest floor.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how much better he can get at the NFL level. He's not going to fall to 19. I can almost guarantee that. I've seen the next player from Boston College, Donovan Izaraku. Nope, I got it wrong, even after I looked at the pronunciation guide. Hot dog it. I'll pay a fine for that one. He was also graded above a 90. Played a fantastic season. 14 sacks, 20 hurries, 26 quarterback hits. He was above 23 quarterback hits in all 3 seasons since 2022. Only 2 sacks in 2023, so he added 12 this season. And he played one fewer game. This is his first time being a full-time starter with 766 snaps played. That's true of all 3 of our guys so far, by the way. Both of them were hanging around 550, 560. They've all played almost 800 snaps this season. So a lot of reps. He will probably project as an outside linebacker. He's only 6'2". Probably not going to be an every down rusher. But I'm intrigued. I've seen him mocked a lot, especially by some of the guys I follow on Twitter that do NFL draft stuff for the Bucs. I'm curious. Definitely. Are you intrigued, Poppy? See. The next one is James Pierce. I would probably say that he's the 3rd best edge rusher in this class. The problem is the off-the-field behavior. And that's also true of Mike Green. There are some credible allegations surrounding him. So there are some character questions about both of these players. James Pierce has been questioned for his effort on the field. He's been questioned for his effort off the field. There were definitely some problems with Tennessee this past season, as is illustrated with Nico Imaliva leaving the roster, wanting more NIL money. Yeah, I know, right? It's in the name. Whoever would have thought? He never played above 500 snaps. Pierce didn't. He was only a rotational guy because there were questions about his effort in both of his seasons as what could have been a starter. He graded very well. Only 8 sacks this season, though. Very concerning after having 13 in his junior year. 43 hurries, though. 43. It's quite a lot.
In a small sample size.
In a very small. His pass rush win rate was 23%, so he was getting a pass rush win on almost a fourth of his downs on the field. I think that he has a chance of falling all the way out of the first round.
Wow.
You just have to question. You just have to question the motor. You have to question the motivation. I think that those kinds of questions.
6'5", 243.
I was just about to get to that. 243 is a little low. I think that he could definitely stand to pack on some weight if he's going to play defensive end. But 6'5", I'm intrigued. I'm definitely intrigued. I think that he's not quite worth a first round pick if those are the questions surrounding his character. Second round pick, all bets are off. Next is Michael Williams, who is, I think, very underrated in this class, but it's also a prospect of the guys ahead of him.
I haven't followed closely, but I remember watching games that he was in and going, "This is a guy I'd love to see on my roster."
Yeah, it's him and Trayvon Walker, the inside guy.
He was productive against really good competition.
Listen, man, regardless of their production, you can't go wrong with drafting a Georgia defensive lineman. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong with drafting anybody from the University of Georgia, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Their
Unfortunately,
talent
the Eagles
development-
might snatch him up before we can. But
that seems to be their draft strategy over the last 5 years, and it's
Right.
worked out pretty great. There are questions about his production, but he's 6'5", 265, and he went to the University of Georgia. I don't even think he got a speeding ticket there, which is
he's long.
you
He's
know-
got wingspan.
Oh yeah,
Tyler, I
for
mean-
sure. Physically, great. He's not even the age of 21 yet.
Wow.
He's still 20. I think that he could be very fun. You know, the production's not all there. He's a better run defender than he is a pass rusher. I think he projects more for the interior of the line. Only had something like 15 sacks over 3 years. So, you know, he fits the bill for a Todd Bowles defender. Not necessarily the sack production, but he's got the run defense production. The question is, are they going to double down on run defense, or are they going to look for a true pass rusher this season? You know, there's proponents of both. Next is Shamar Stewart, another physical freak.
That man is large,
6'6", 290 pounds.
huge.
Trey's eyes just like
I
blew up.
looked him up
Yeah.
because I'm looking over the screen. I'm like, the next guy. Let's see, 6'6", 290. I gotta look this guy up.
Yeah, this guy plays violent. I think that he'll probably fall to the second round. I've seen him mocked to the Bucks as well. Texas A&M defenders are another safe bet this season between Eminwari, Demetrius Knight, Shamar Stewart, the other edge rusher that I'm forgetting the name of. Listen, only 6 sacks in the past 3 years. No production, but I mean,
A
you look at him.
wingspan of 84 3/4 inches.
Yeah, he's a giant. The production's not there, unfortunately, but I mean, just look at it. The next one is Nick Scorton. That's his name. That's the other Texas
that
A&M
is a
edge rusher.
7-foot wingspan.
Yeah, this guy is pretty big too. 6'4", 285. You know, I'm not necessarily thrilled by him. He still looks pretty good, but he only had 4 sacks this season after having 8 last season. The problem is, like, as good as these prospects look, they didn't play like the Texas A&M defense could have been a lot better. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost a little disappointing to look at these freaks of nature and see the Texas A&M Aggies win like 9 games.
Okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me just suppose something. Like, I mean, a lot of these guys, there are very few with like sack production numbers. Like,
Yeah.
you're showing me sack production numbers, and you're like, this guy's only got 4 sacks, this guy's only got 6 sacks. But in college football, I feel like there aren't a lot of sacks, and I think that's because so many teams run RPO games.
This is true.
Where they're getting the ball out of their hands so fast that you can't.
This is true.
There's nobody
Yeah.
sitting back in a pocket that you can go at.
And that's also part of the reason you don't see edge rushers win Heismans.
Yeah.
Not since Jadeveon Clowney, who was
right.
a one of one, honestly. After that, it kind of drops off for a little while in terms of quality of prospect. There's Princely Umanmielen from Ole Miss. I'm a pretty big fan of this guy too, but he's going to be another outside linebacker.
And he's got off-field problems too.
Yeah, I'm sure he does.
Well, I mean, the only he had a very well publicized incident at Florida where like he was like they let him out onto the sidewalk outside the stadium in his uniform, helmet, everything, and he was like there were fans yelling at him and he yelled back at them. It was an allegation someone may have said the N-word would set him off. He had to be held back, but it got like posted everywhere, and you know I don't know if that's consistent with his character or if he was incited to the point where you black out. There's only so
Yeah.
much a human can take, right?
Right.
And I don't know why Ole Miss was leading a guy in full uniform onto the sidewalk
After he had been ejected.
after he'd been ejected from the game. Like they took him out of the stadium where fans and people were. Like
That didn't
was-
make any sense at
It
all.
made 0 sense. That's shame on Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I digress.
Do better, Lane. So the next 2 prospects I want to cover, and probably some of the last ones, JT Tumalau from Ohio State and Jack Sawyer
Yes.
from Ohio State.
So that was a name. I was like, did I miss Jack Sawyer?
I was like, what?
I've seen him in the first round, and I'm not buying the hype.
Yeah, he's going to fall. The question about both of these guys is their ceiling. They're both going to come in and they're going to be day 1 starters, even though they're going to get picked in the second round. The question is, you know, Jack Sawyer is almost 23 years old. He's set to turn 23, I think, right after the draft. And JT is going to turn 22 right after the draft. They're almost identical prospects. They're both about 6'5". They're both about 260 pounds. and they were both very good against the Big Ten.
And I'll say, they remind me together of the Bosa brothers.
Yes.
Like, one
Yes.
is Joey and the other is Nick. Like,
Yeah,
it's-
exactly. But the problem is, how much better are they going to get? If you can convince yourself that they're first-round prospects, I could believe it. But I just don't know. Neither of them are physically imposing to me, despite their size. And Ohio State defense was very good. You just have to wonder, and they're not really scheme fits. Ohio State plays a 4-3, whereas the Bucs play a 3-4. They were both edge defenders in that kind
They were
of defense.
both born a year and 4 days apart.
Yeah.
Literally. Jack Sawyer was May 6, 2002. JT Tuimoloau
Yeah.
was May 10th, 2003.
Yep.
Right after the draft.
They are twins in name only, if you will. So the question is, are they going to play defensive end in a 3-4, or are they going to play outside linebacker and be an edge defender in a 3-4? That's kind of the problem with switching between those two. Then there's also Jared Ivey from Ole Miss. He was very good as well. 6'6", 285, but he's going to turn 24 soon. Same with Kyle Kennard from South Carolina. So there's a lot of names here. There's some really fun ones. Oluwafemi Oladejo, another
UCLA.
Nigerian.
The number of defenders that have gone in the NFL draft first round who have last names starting with O it's been an explosion. There should be a graph of this to show
It's because they're all from West Africa. I'm not even joking. It's a very common trend there
Correct,
to have
yeah.
the first name beginning with O.
Yeah.
So there's also later round names. Quandarius Robinson from Alabama. Very fun name, first of all.
Yes.
Doesn't have a lot of experience, but he's got the physical traits to be impressive in the NFL. Baron Sorrell from Texas. The defensive front was not super good in general, but another guy, 6'4", 260, could be good at the next level. Ahmed Hassanein from Boise State. He's Egyptian. He did not play any high school football. He was a wrestler. And he eventually made his way to Boise State. And he's undersized for sure, 6'3", 271. But he could be really fun, ideally, as rotating
Talk about upside. That's a
He'll
guy.
he'll be a Division III guy.
Get him with the right coaching.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know if that's the Bucs, but 10 sacks this year, 14 last year.
Well, production too.
Yeah. I mean, he also played at Boise State, so
Yeah.
he's not ideal NFL size, but it happens sometimes. Outside of that, there's not really many guys. There's a couple guys from Division II schools that could be really fun. There's a BYU guy and a University of Miami guy, both with the first name Tyler. Mormon and convicts there. But I think that this is one of those positions where you take a stab at and see what happens.
I'm surprised I haven't heard a name from Nebraska yet. Like, that pops out to me. Because, Trey Palmer. We always have a guy from Nebraska that we're talking
Seems
about.
like there's one
Another
every
good
year.
name. Jeez, all these guys are really good names. Don't you think?
I mean, in the 90s, Nebraska was Ohio State, was
Oklahoma.
Alabama.
Dominican Sue,
It's Jason
Levante
Knight's
David.
team to draft from.
Yeah, it was.
It's them in Washington.
I mean, in practice, they wore black jerseys on defense, the starters, and so they were considered the black shirt defense. And it was, it was a thing to be from Nebraska and play defense. And Nebraska's fallen off so far, and it's not a myth. The corn-fed farm boys from out in the Midwest, like those.
Now it's Iowa.
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah.
Iowa State.
Yeah, so
Iowa.
anyways, this is why I wasn't paying attention to baseball.
Gotcha. No, you.
How many, I just woke up from a coma, how many MVPs does Will Myers have?
0.
Oh,
I can
man.
name
How
that.
many Cy Youngs did Matt Moore end
Hey.
up winning?
Yeah,
Not the Dolphins quarterback, by the way.
How good was Jeremy Hellickson? I mean, dude, that guy had a great rookie year.
Oh, Jeremy Hellickson, Alex Cobb, Chris Archer, David Price were all on the same roster in 2013. Think about that.
Oh, no, I got one better. One up for you. McClanahan.
And Matt Moore was on the team, too.
Charlie Morton in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Glass now. You got Snell. Oh, my
What about Rich
gosh.
Hill? Rich Hill was on that team, too, in
Rich
his 40s. Can't say his nickname on the air.
I just want to point out that I know none of these guys except for Charlie Morton, Tyler, those guys that know.
Charlie
these
Morton was
names.
good, man.
He's so good.
Well.
I took a victory lap earlier on Christian Wilkins.
Sure,
You want to know who had better stats than Christian Wilkins? A 38-year-old Calais Campbell. 38, still going strong.
Speaking of 38-year-olds, what about Jeff Neiman?
35 solo tackles, 5 sacks, 17 assisted tackles, 52
Oh
total.
boy.
Yeah.
He's so good.
No, and shout out to Dante Fowler Jr. I recently saw him at the Lakewood High School
I might get his
Hall of Fame
jersey.
induction, and what a season he had. Quietly to me, I wasn't aware of the season he had for the Commanders. He had 10 sacks, 14 tackles for loss. Was an alternate Pro Bowler 10 years into the league.
Yeah.
So-
finally popped. He was good at Jacksonville though.
Oh yeah, no,
That Jacksonville defense was good.
yes, it was. It was them.
Jacksonville.
They lifted Blake Bortles to the AFC Championship.
Oh, Blake Bortles.
Thank you all for listening. Tune in to RBLR to see Tyler's articles. Tune in later today to see the starting lineup for the Tampa Bay Rays on Tampa Sports Breaking. Thank you for listening. We will send you out.
Oh my God, there's a Calais Campbell jersey for $45. I'm getting it.
With
Acting
a bang.
Deanna Navarro.
I clicked the button.
this up because we got.
Oh, you clipped it?
Yeah, I clicked it too early.
Gunner Navarro.
I know, I'm desperately need to get to see him.